what is this, like take 4? So I have the Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio, pulled up, where he says, I never ask my clients to judge me by my winners. I ask them to judge me by my losers because I have so few. Well, this is fantasy football. So trying to predict things in fantasy football is grifting. It's akin to just throwing a whole bunch of names out there and then having certain people like listen to you and throw them in their lineup and then thinking you know what you're talking about when you don't. So as many Puka Nakuas and Devin A chains as I have like Sky Moore's other places where I miss on. So take what I say with a grain of salt. I don't do some of the stuff anymore because like I just can go on autopilot and get it done. So now I'm going to kind of show how the sausage was made in the past, moving forward, because I'll just go to like Sleeper now and look at a guy like the guys on my roster or the guys on waivers and go like, who is the game against, like what's the matchup. So in a game like Josh Palmer, this is a Josh Palmer week, this is a Gabe Davis week. So Gabe Davis, with Miami, high implied point totals, I want the ancillary pieces in my lineup. The same thing with Josh Palmer. Chargers have a really, really bad offense. Vegas doesn't necessarily have to be good. They just have to, not be bad on offense. And then the Chargers are going to, have to score points to win the game. So that's kind of the thought process behind all this. So like the Vegas odds, implied point totals. Again, I don't put too much stock into it, but I'll get into like how the sausage is made. So a variable like the 6:30 start, away game. I usually want nothing to do with those things because it's a variable that can't be controlled for. Just like Thursday night games, never trust Thursday night games. So I would view these neutral site away games the same way. Vegas says that there's not a lot of implied points, 42.5. If I paid for a Bijan, if I paid for Calvin Ridley or Travis Etienne, I'm still rolling them out regardless. But it's going to be unpredictable because of that extra variable. Dolphins, Bills, Vegas has 53.5 implied points. There's going to be a lot going on, and trying to guess the beneficiary of all those points, if it's not Tyreek Hill and it's not Stephon Diggs, that's where you get your Dave Davises, your Dalton Kincaids, your James Cooks. Obviously, I'd still be rolling Waddle out there, but like guessing on like a Devin A chain or Raheem Mostert if I haven't already like decided that they're a lock in my lineup. Vikings, Panthers. Vegas says 46.5. That's because the Vikings have a bad offense. Bryce Young's supposed to be playing. I'd feel better if it was Andy Dalton. The only Panther I'd really be rolling out there this week would be Chuba Hubbard if Miles Sanders is out. Even if Miles Sanders plays, you probably paid a little bit for him. Vikings, high implied point total. So like Jordan Addison, if he's not already a weekly starter for me, I would be thinking about rolling him out there. Broncos, Bears, 46.5. That's because they both have bad defenses. And even if both offenses are bad defenses tend to trump that. There's probably going to be yards and points to be thrown around a little bit in this game. I don't know how many people spent on DJ Moore, but everything says, hey, maybe. Broncos, the same thing. If I have Marvin Mims, might be a good week to roll him out as a gamble. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, those type of things. Ravens, Browns might have the best defense in football. Who knows what the Ravens offense is like? Vegas says 39 implied points. So if I didn't pay for a guy, I don't know if I want to be rolling him out there. Steelers, Texans, 42 points, not the greatest game in the world. Again, if I didn't pay for a guy, I don't know if I would be rolling him out there. Rams, Colts, Vegas says 45.5. Anthony Richardson's back. Probably I can start thinking about my ancillary pieces. I don't know how many ancillary pieces are going to be involved in this game. I mean, Anthony Richardson, Michael Pittman are probably locks. Zach Moss is probably a lock for a lot of people. Puka's probably a lock. Kyron Williams is probably a lock. But the Tutu Atwell type is like that. That might be a guy even at 45.5 that I would feel pretty comfortable rolling out in my flex. Buccaneer Shanks, they only have them at 40. Again, probably not going to be a lot to throw around. From a coaching standpoint, neither of these teams are going to have to take risks in order to try and win the game. They're going to wait for the other team to try and shoot themselves in the foot. So that's why, like, outside of maybe your Mike Evans, your Chris Olaves, Alvin Kamara is coming back in this game. I would feel comfortable enough to roll him out in my flex. I think I have the league I have him. I think I do have him in my flex. But that would be the thought process behind that. Like how deep of the ancillary pieces. I'm always going to play my best guys. I'm always going to play the guys I spent on until I can't trust them anymore. But after that, those ancillary pieces that people are wondering about. Commanders, Eagles, implied 43 points. Commanders should have a good defense. Eagles should have a good defense. Eagles have a good offense. Commanders don't. That's why the numbers are where they are. So I would still kind of not want to play my ancillary pieces for the Eagles because of that implied point total. The Commanders can slow the game down, even though I think that actually the Commanders do have a high pace of play. But anyway, it's just probably not going to be a very predictive game ahead of time. Bengals Titans, again, 41 implied points. This is an odd game because the Titans pass defense would make me go, I would want to play the Bengals, but there aren't probably going to be a lot of points being scored by either team. The Bengals probably don't want to risk it with Joe Burrow. So I'm not going to play. I wouldn't be very happy to play any Titans regardless. But the Bengals maybe, well, I don't know how many other pieces there would be outside of like Higgins and Jamar Chase. So anyway, moving on, Raiders Chargers, 49 implied points by Vegas. This is a Josh Palmer game. I think I have him pulled up someplace. Yeah, this is Josh Palmer game. Gabe Davis week, Josh Palmer week. The tea leaves say 49 implied points. That's because the Chargers have like the worst defense in football. So the Raiders offense doesn't have to be good or bad. It can just be playing the Chargers defense. That also means the Chargers are going to have to put up more points because the Raiders are going to be able to stick around in the game. So like rolling out my ancillary pieces, Jacoby Myers, if he isn't already a weekly starter for me, I would be really comfortable rolling him out there. This could be a Josh Jacobs get right game. The Chargers, like the pieces, like even to the point of Quentin Johnson being a possibility to roll out there to see how he fits in. There's going to be vacated targets. Just getting pieces of that. The other guy to talk about is like Darnold Parham, which would be really odd because like he is encroaching on Gerald Everett's snaps, but he's almost like a goal line running back that you're hoping that he just gets a Yahtzee in the red zone. I don't know, but this is a good implied point total to roll him out like a Taysom Hill, like lottery ticket into the win. Patriots, Cowboys, only 43.5 points. Probably not a good overall matchup for anybody outside of like who we already know. Cardinals, 49ers. This is another interesting one. Cardinals are 14-point dogs, but they've been sticking around all the games that they've been in so far. I don't know how much I would trust my 49ers pieces, let alone the ancillary pieces. And I'm not sure that the Cardinals necessarily have really anybody that I would start outside of James Conner. But because of how they've been playing, these would be sneaky pieces in your larger leagues that maybe you could throw out there and be cute and rub it in your opponent's faces because you called that Michael Wilson game ahead of time. Chiefs Jets, again, 41.5 low implied point totals. Like I would think that we would all guess that like the Chiefs are going to jump out somehow, some way. Jets defense isn't going to be able to hold them in there. I'm not playing very many Jets, and I'm not expecting big things out of the Chiefs. More than just the guys I already paid for. Seahawks Giants is another interesting one. 47 implied points by Vegas. Both the Giants and the Seahawks have bad defenses. Even though we could say that the Giants have a bad offense, the Seahawks have a bad defense. They should be holding in. And just for clarification, the Vegas said that over under was 45 points in the Lions Packers game. So moving forward, this is the most I'll get sometimes now if I really need to go pick somebody up off the wire in bye weeks is I'll just look at the matchups. And if I see a good matchup, I'll just go to ESPN and go like the NFL schedule, look at it and go, hey, what game do I want to get a piece of? So like a Denver-Chicago game during the bye weeks, I might go out and go like, I'm going to roll Marvin Mims. I'm just going to roll. My co-managers get a little upset because they're like, are you being cute or is this a good play? And sometimes I have to admit at that point that it's just me being cute, but there's other times where it's just like, no, I want a piece of this game. And that the Denver-Chicago game may not be the best example, but if I'm looking at certain guys with the Miami-Buffalo game, that's probably not. And then to finish off, if you're wondering again with the stats, like We can kind of throw the Broncos out for the time being because of that Miami game. It doesn't mean that they're a good defense. It just means they might not be as bad a defense. But the Chargers are still 450 points a game, and that's really bad considering that the Broncos had that annihilation by the Dolphins, and they only have 8 points more or 8 yards more per game, and then the points per game that we have up there, like take the Broncos off, but we still have 35 points by the Bears and 32 points by the Giants and 29 points by the Chargers and the Seahawks. So understanding like who's going to give up points, even in bad game scripts, the idea would be like the good players are going to get what they're going to get early, and then we just don't need them in the second half. Going back to garbage time, I don't really trust garbage time because of the fact that like if they haven't put points up by like the first 3 quarters, what makes me think that they're going to actually like save my week in the fourth quarter? So just getting games that like there's a lot of implied points and a lot of implied yards ahead of time. Just statistically, we can't always guarantee, or at least I can't always guarantee that like what a game looks like on paper is going to translate to what happens in real life. But if we're looking at tea leaves, if we're trying to break down like when's a good week to start someone and when's a good week to sit somebody, like it's going to give us probably better than a 50 chance to kind of guess that. So anyway, if you got your Gabe Davises, you got your Josh Palmers, the tea leaves are saying this is a good week to roll them out. If you have Giants and Seahawks pieces, it's a good week to throw them out. Your deeper pieces, like even like your JSNs and your Hodgins or your Hyatts, probably this week. So anyway, that's about all I got, and I want to keep it short. And I'll see about doing something like this, like weekly on Saturdays.